The AFC Championship game. We have the Patriots traveling to Denver, Mile High. Big game here. And also, the Patriots have really struggled in Denver in the playoffs. That's something to note, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Patriots are a 5.5-point favor on the road against Denver. I think the Broncos are the biggest underdog in one seed history. I could be wrong about that. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that, but it wouldn't honestly surprise me.
Yeah, there's probably not many one seeds who are a 5.5-point underdog like the Denver Broncos in this game. Grant, general thoughts. What do you got?
Yeah, well, this line is at 4.5 at some books, 5.5 at others. I think it might have opened universally at 4.5, and some have moved around. I'm not quite sure if that Sportsbook's making an adjustment. I'm not sure if that's the influence of money, but there's a lot of unknowns in this game because it's Jarrett Stidham, whose last action was week 18 when the starters were benched in 2023. So what is he actually going to be able to do for this offense? Now, just kind of looking at this game, and we'll keep it on Drake Maye here. Drake Maye's not been very good in these playoffs. He's made good throws, which is different from playing well. Like that touchdown to Diggs where he fit it between the window, and it was a great catch by Diggs as well. But you got to give credit to Drake Maye there. The touchdown to Kayshon Boutte. Boutte makes the catch of the season, but Drake Maye also put it where only he could get it against maybe the best corner in the NFL and Derek Stingley. So you have to give him credit for stepping up in those moments. But overall, I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns and 5 turnovers, and he's had several strip sacks that the Patriots have jumped back on top of. So he has to hold on to the football. And while Bo Nix might not be playing in this game, the entire Broncos defense is. They were a top 3 team in the NFL in EPA per play. They were number 1 in success rate as well. So they did a better job of staying or keeping opponents behind the chains than any team in the NFL. So going on the road to a hostile environment, a team that's very pumped up. And my mom lives in Colorado, so I'm out there sometimes. And just knowing the way that Broncos fans are and their general attitudes, do they wish Bo Nix was playing? Of course. But are they like fair weather bandwagon fans that are just giving up on the team? Not at all. They're saying, all right, it is what it is. Rally the troops. Next man up. We don't care. And in some ways, that's kind of what their team is like. We always talk about the Broncos increase Bo Nix's level of responsibility according to what their opponents do. They don't come out the gate saying, Bo Nix, go win us this game. So I genuinely don't think the approach is going to be all that different with Jarrett Stidham. If you get late in the game and you're down a touchdown, down 2 touchdowns, and you're chasing points, it might become evident that you're missing your starting quarterback. I don't think he's going to claw you back as well as Bo Nix could. But as far as just what they're going to come out with, their mindset's going to be, what they're going to try to do, how they're going to try to establish themselves, I think it's going to play out the exact same way.
Yeah, I think Sean Payton's going to have Jarrett Stidham ready to go. I think that's the number one thing that we need to realize in this game. He's going to be ready. He's played in the NFL for 7 years too, so we got to factor that in. He has been around a locker room. We're not dealing with a rookie or a second-year guy who's never played. He hasn't played a lot of football, but he was in the same locker room as Tom Brady. He's been there 7 years. He won the backup job over Zach Wilson originally. Like, he's still going to be able to make throws down the field, you would think. He cannot be worse than C.J. Stroud was. That's impossible. That is impossible. I think, the Patriots being 0-4 in Denver in playoff games, I know that goes back to players who are not on this team, right? It's Tom Brady era, but at the same time too, that's concerning knowing that you've struggled in Denver. And I think the best thing about the Broncos is obviously their defense. And you can also rally around the fact that you have a backup quarterback in. Like, the defense can take their play to that much higher of a level, knowing that they got to take care of business because of the backup. So, I think if it was 2 weeks removed from the backup, the Patriots would be better positioned. But the fact that you don't have any film on Jarrett Stidham, really, you are in a situation where the defense can rally around that, and you're at home. Like, Jarrett Stidham just doesn't have to, just don't turn the ball over. And I think the Broncos are positioned not only to cover, but to win the game.
Yeah, we said before that Patriots-Texans game, we had so much belief in the Texans defense that the whole mindset should have been CJ Stroud, don't turn the football over and you'll win the game. And if CJ Stroud didn't turn the football over, the Texans would have blown the Patriots out. They turned it over 5 times. Stroud had 4 first-half interceptions, and it was close. It kind of finished a little lopsided, but that's because the Patriots eventually broke through. I mean, the Boutte one-hand touchdown, that kind of any chance you had went away with that. But that was a highly competitive game with 5 turnovers. And yes, I understand the Texans forced 3 turnovers of their own. One of them was in the end of first half Hail Mary, so it doesn't even really count. Let's call it 2 turnovers. The Broncos can easily force 2 turnovers. They've got a top 3 defense in the NFL here. And this home field advantage, it's a real thing. Did you see the Bills players during the game? They were huffing and puffing on the sideline. They were getting oxygen. That altitude, again, my mom lives out in Colorado. I was a former track runner, and I remember going there, and I've got great lungs. And as soon as I stepped down, within 24 hours, I was sucking wind. So it's a real thing. The Patriots are going to need to play better than they have if they want to get this done.
Yeah, it's not a slam dunk win for the Patriots. I really don't think. And also, too, when you just look at how New England has played so far in the playoffs, I don't know if that builds confidence or not. Because you're playing with fire week after week. And that's the scariest thing. Against the Chargers, it was 16-3. And, the offense turned the ball over. Don't get me wrong. Drake Maye was sacked 5 times. He was sacked 5 times against the Texans. And I look at the Texans game too, like Woody Marks fumbling going in down 8 at that point. That was a huge turning point. There's so many moments in that Patriots Texans game where the Texans could have climbed back into it. And they literally had a quarterback who was playing worse than if he just spiked it on every single play. So it's really hard to believe in the Patriots right now with how they have played on offense. And I think the delusional fan base of just Boston sports believe that this is a slam dunk game. And it's really not if they continue to do what they've done on offense. If they play like they played on offense early in the season, they're going to be fine. But you can't make critical mistakes and give the Broncos life at home. And they've done that week after week against the Chargers and now obviously against the Texans.
The sacks are also a huge problem because, like you said, 5 sacks in the first round, 5 sacks in the second round. You know who had the highest percentage of sacks, like the most pass plays that ended in sacks in the entire NFL? The Denver Broncos. Will Campbell, good, solid regular season. He's been getting taken to school in these playoffs. Jared Wilson, that rookie side of the left side of the offensive line, they've been getting taken to school. There's been pressure from pretty much everywhere as well. You've been getting off the left, the right, up the middle, overloads, just 4-man rushes. The Patriots have not had good protection plans for Drake Maye. His pocket presence has been very bad, and I commend him for staying in there, like wanting to make the play. But at the same time, it's taking too long, and he's walking himself into sacks. And the Broncos are going to heat him up in this game.
Yeah, and we talked about it too. Like Nick Bonito's a stud, obviously. He's had 3 sacks in the playoffs so far, and 2.5 sacks in the playoffs, but just overall has been great. And you look at what the havoc that he was able to wreak against Josh Allen last week. That's something to note. And my biggest concern with the Broncos defense versus the Texans defense, the Texans weren't trying to do anything special. They're just sitting there, they're rushing 4, and they're getting success because they're that good, right? Maybe 5 occasionally, but for the most part, they're not bringing many crazy pressures. They're overloading one side. They're trying to get Will Anderson solo or Danielle Hunter. For the Broncos, they're going to scheme up different looks. They're going to scheme up different pressures. Like they're going to confuse the offensive line. They're going to try to make looks to confuse the opposing offense. Not saying they're going to be able to do it, but it's going to be it's a totally different defense than what they saw last week against the Texans, even though both are towards the top of the league.
So talking about actual score predictions here, again, the line is 4.5 at some books, 5.5 at other. Just very simple rule. If you're betting the Patriots, take the 4.5. If you're betting the Broncos, take the 5.5. Nobody do anything dumb. Make sure you look for the best value. I think we're going to have the same side of this just by the way we're talking. I'm going to be taking the Broncos at plus 5.5.
Yeah, I would lean Broncos 5.5. I think the Patriots have earned the right, I think, for you to lay the points if you're willing to lay the points here. But that's going to require some Jarrett Stidham turnovers. Like a Broncos defense is good enough to keep them in the game. I think Jarrett Stidham's going to be good enough, so I would take the Broncos plus 5.5. But it's a tough call to make. It really is.
Yeah, if you parlay them, Broncos plus 5.5 and Patriots money line, it is plus 341. That can get dangerous, so not really advocating for that, but it's always fun to look at this stuff.
Yeah. Now, do you think that the Patriots have a legitimate chance of losing the game?
That's the thing. I don't see them losing, which is why that's honestly the biggest argument for why I could see someone say lay the 5.5 at the Patriots. Because I do think it will be close. I do think it will be competitive, but a 7-point game can be competitive. That's a 1-score game. It can be back and forth, but the Patriots could still cover the line. So I don't see the Broncos defense totally overwhelming, getting pick sixes, fumble sixes against the Patriots. I don't see them doing that. So I think they might hold them to very few points. I would be betting the under here. That's my play. It's only 41.5. I would still be going under that. But I don't see Jarrett Stidham. I see him moving them down the field. I don't know if he's going to be able to punch it in. Think it might be some red zone field goals, things like that.
Yeah, I don't necessarily see the Patriots losing. That's why I'm torn on the +5.5 there. Because if the game just plays out how it should, I'm not as afraid of the Broncos defense as I am of the Texans defense. Like, I was genuinely concerned for that Texans defense against New England Patriots last week. This week, I'm like, I think over the course of the game, the Patriots are going to have success here because matchup wise, I think it's a little better. But the Broncos defense made Josh Allen look bad at times too. And I think, there is a route here for like the Broncos defense to score, get a turnover, score again, be up 2 scores. And then the Patriots are playing from behind. Like, going back to the Bills game against the Broncos, the Bills were down 13 at one point. And we forget that moment in the game, but that was because the defense was cooking. Obviously the offense did enough there. So I don't really know. It's a tough game to call, just in the sense of like, what's Jarrett Stidham going to look like? If he's an average quarterback, I think he's good enough to win it here, but the Patriots are obviously a really good team. So I think the Patriots have to win the game. And, if you're picking against them to win, it's very interesting because they've pretty much earned the right for you. Should probably pick them every week right now. But being on the road is concerning against good defense and a quarterback that we have no film on is definitely something to note.
This is a wild path to a Super Bowl. And Patriots fans, not taking away from your team's accomplishments, just calling a spade a spade. Beat one team with a winning record in the regular season. You get Herbert with nobody else on the field. You get 5 turnovers from CJ Stroud, and you forced them, but Stroud also lost his head. And then in this game, you get a backup quarterback to go to the Super Bowl, potentially against Sam Darnold, which is a wild path to a potential championship.
See, I don't think the Patriots are going to win the Super Bowl, though. I really don't.
Well, the sports books say that they're not, because I'm at FanDuel right now, but all of them will tell you this. They have the Seahawks as the favorite, and then the Rams are second across the board. Even though the Rams are underdogs this weekend, they still think they're more likely to win the Super Bowl than any AFC team.
Yeah, like the NFC is going to be a significant underdog in the Super Bowl. Do we have hypothetical lines? Okay,
so the NFC is going to be the favorite.
Yeah, the NFC is going to, significant favorite. They're a 3-point favorite over the Patriots. The Seahawks, the Rams are a 3.5-point favorite over the Patriots. The Rams and the Seahawks are both like 7.5, 8.5-point favorites over the Broncos. Like, there's a world where we have a touchdown underdog in the Super Bowl. And genuinely, if we get the Broncos with Jarrett Stidham going up against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl, even the Rams, like these games are not very interesting in my mind. I'm a Patriots fan, so I would like to see the Patriots there, but Patriots Seahawks doesn't really do it for me. It does it for me more obviously than Broncos versus Seahawks. That would be probably the worst matchup of all time.
Yeah, if the Patriots as well, and not to harp on their schedule thing, because it's not their fault, and again, they deserve credit for it. I think if they had beaten the Ravens, or they'd beaten the Chiefs, or they'd beaten the Bills,
they did beat the Ravens. They did beat the Ravens. Oh, you mean the playoffs?
In the playoffs, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
If they had knocked out one of those guys, if they'd knocked out the Bengals and Burrow, there's at least some elements of that to the story. But so far, it's you beat Justin Herbert, who's never won a playoff game, and he had the worst offensive line in football. CJ Stroud throws 4 interceptions, and then you beat Jarrett Stidham. It's not a great storyline for a neutral fan to buy into. It's great for the Patriots fans because you want to face all the easy teams, but everyone else is hard to get behind.
Well, there's not going to be an asterisk next to the Super Bowl if they do get it done. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
But, I think the best matchup, the one people would like to see most, obviously, is Rams-Patriots, at least to get the storyline in there with Drake Maye versus Matthew Stafford. Could be one of Stafford's last seasons. Drake Maye, second-year guy, might not get the MVP, probably won't get the MVP, but he has a chance to knock off Matthew Stafford in Super Bowl, who would win the MVP. I think that's
2018 Super Bowl rematch as well.
That was such a bad game, too. That was like the 13-3 game.
13-3, yeah.
Yeah, that was a bad one. So, I would trust the Rams in that spot. I'd be taking the Patriots, obviously, but we'll see.